Hello. In this lecture, we'll be discussing about some exploratory data analysis methods or steps. And I have created two notebooks. So I will create a series of presentation where I'll be explaining all the parts that I have included in these two notebooks. The first notebook is exploratory data analysis, retail underscore part 1, and then the following one will have part 2. Here we will be discussing about different important aspects of exploratory data analysis, and we'll be taking some real data from the retail domain that will actually give you some more knowledge following our series of discussion on exploratory data analysis. In this part, specifically in this notebook, I am covering a few topics, for example, indexing, then date time, data type, and I'll be showing how to do aggregation at different level. And for the graph visualization here, I will be using Plotly. So again, I am actually loading my workspace and some of the Python packages that we'll be using, and we'll see how we're going to use it for different tasks. So let's first do all these validation steps so I can access to my Google Workspace. And the first thing I'm doing, I'm loading three data frames. One is what I call feature data frame. You will find these files on my GitHub. You have to just place your data in your workspace and you have to just load it from there. So first data frame is features data set, and then the second one is the sales data, and then the third one is the stores data. So we have retail data in three different CSV files, and I'm loading those corresponding data into three data frames, naming features, sales, and I have these data from Kaggle. So I put a link there so you can go to the original source to look at what the data set is all about. So you will find all the details here. So here they anonymize the data to a certain level, but in a summary they have the sales data for 45 stores, and I'm guessing that these stores are spread over the United States. But if you want to know more about the data, you can go over there and see it. So you can see that the feature table contains some store ID, then date, temperature, fuel price, and some markdowns. I think these markdowns are all about their promotions, but we'll learn those moving forward. And you have columns like unemployment and ease holiday. We'll be using part of these columns. How about the sales data? The sales data, you can see that they have a store ID, they have department ID, then date, and then they have weekly sales data. So what do you mean by that? So they take all the sales per week and then they sum them over. And they are also adding whether that was a holiday or not. You can quickly get the dates from the date column, but they are adding it to make our life easier. Okay. And they have stores data. So stores data has like a store ID, what type of store, and size. We will be looking at those features in detail. Okay. So as I was saying, that first we'll be looking at the index. What do we mean by index and how to access those? Okay. So let's look at the sales data, and here I'm showing that what are the index for sales, and you can see that there is a type range index, value starting from 0 to few 100,000. And if you look at the values, so you can quickly say that, they're talking about some integer values, the integer indexes. Yeah. You will need indexing to do a lot of things, and one of the things is that you want to access a specific record. Okay. So two things that we'll be learning. One is the location, trying to locate a specific record. So let's plug in location 1. Okay. Here I am seeing this is the second record, that means index 1, And I'm here exactly seeing the same thing. So this is using the head and this is using the loc, but location is returning just one specific record. However, iloc, so let's run iloc, and here you see like the same record, exactly same record. So you might wonder that what is the difference, I am not going to explain the difference now because it will be much more clear when you see a real example. So here we are looking at the self table, some additional information. It's good that all the values are not null. Also, they're showing the data types. You can see that the store and departments are integer type, date is object type, and then cells is float type, and is holiday is boolean type. So we talked about indexing partly. We will come back to there, but now we'll be talking about the date time data type. Okay. I'm just checking the minimum and the maximum value in the weekly sales column. And let's run this. So you can see that we have some negative values in the weekly sales. We'll come back to this item later because we are not expecting negative values in the weekly sales column. But one thing in terms of a numeric number, this makes sense. So now we do the same thing for the dates column. Okay. So let's run this. The minimum date, it is showing April 1st, 2011, and the maximum value is December 31, 2010, So you might say that, oh, maybe this minimum and maximum function is not working for this date, right? And you're right, we were expecting this function will return the minimum date value of the date column, and this will do the maximum value, but the value doesn't match. Okay? So you might wonder that why, let's print the data type, So the whole idea is the date column is loaded as object data type, And if you recall, in one of the lectures, I have explained when you see the data type being loaded as an object, then you have to double check, you have to check it carefully. The reason is the data pandas loaded as a string, So what we have to do, we have to convert this data from object to date time. That's what we are doing here. Okay, so now we converted the string data to date time data, okay? And now let's run the maximum and minimum values, okay? So now we see that the minimum value is 2010 February 5, and then the maximum is 2012 October 26. So we still may have confusion, but at least one thing is sure that now the minimum and maximum value is making some sense. Although you're not sure whether it's right or not, but you can convince yourself that this is right, because if you follow this step, then the data is converted to date time, and we'll check. Okay, so let's check it again. Cells dot. Yeah, so now you see, so earlier we are having date as an object, but now we find the date as date time, So we have converted from string or object to a date time data format for the date column, Once you have done that, then you can run some additional operations. You want to get columns with the year and month and week. I am just creating 3 additional columns. And now let's look at the data type again. So here we have the date time, and we created 3 columns that those are integer values, because year, month, and week have integer values. Okay, now we want to see how many unique stores are in the cell. So we have 45 unique stores, in the sales table. Okay, let's first run an year level aggregation. Okay, so what we did, so here we are using the sales table, and then we are running a group by column, and then we are parameterized by year. So if you recall, we created a new column year. So the first aggregation task, we are trying to learn how to aggregate the cells in a yearly level. So you see. So if you run this and then print the head, we found that we have like 3 years data, 2010, 11, and 12, and we actually aggregated the sum of the cells, So this is what we are actually looking at. Okay, now because we run the aggregation, okay, now let's look at what are the index value looks like, after the aggregation, okay. Let's print here cells index values. Oh, we'll print, yeah, let's print the 10 first 10. So you see that the index values were 0, 1, 2, the record numbers. And now because we ran an aggregation, the index value became the years, the years become the corresponding indexes, okay. So here if you run log 0, then you will get the first value as we have seen in the earlier part. But if I run here log 0, then it will fail, Why? Because there is no such index as 0, because your index changes, So what you have to do, you have to pass the value here, So that will give you the value, So here I pass the year to locate the corresponding record, okay. Now what about iLoc, because if I just run iLoc with 0, still it will work, Why? Because if you want to locate a value by index value, then you have to use loc, And if you want to use iLoc, that index of the index, So here you see that the index values were 2010, 2011, and 2012, but this became the new index, but its corresponding index in this array is 0, So because this is the first value. So in summary, if you want to use location, then you have to grab the actual index value. If you are using iLoc, that means the index of the index, So here you have index, but this array is a higher level index that is actually holding these values, So iLoc will always work if you just put the corresponding index of the index, So that's the difference, okay.